Hello and welcome to part 2 of this course teaching you how to work with NetCDF files in Python. Today we're going to be looking at how we can plot some of the data that we're getting from NetCDF files. Before we start, we're going to need to install in our terminal matplotlib, which is a library for plotting, making plots in Python. So go and install that if you don't have it already. And at the start of your script, you're going to import matplotlib plot.pyplot as plt, and we're going to import xarray as xr. If you haven't got xarray installed already, go and install it in your terminal now before you start. We're going to work with some more data on OpenDAP today, so we're going to give a URL here. Again, I've put this URL down in the description of this video, so you can go and copy and paste it from there. Or if you're working with a Jupyter notebook that's been created for this video, you can copy and paste it from that Jupyter notebook. So we're going to go xrds equals xr.open dataset and our URL. And I want to have a look at that object, that xarray object. So print xrds, and let's run that. So in this case, we're looking at a depth profile of chlorophyll A data. We can see that there's a single dimension here called depth, which has 11 points. It's a relatively small file. There's therefore one coordinate variable, depth, which has the dimension of the same name, meaning that we have 11 depth points. And we have these 8 different data variables. Now, we showed in the previous tutorial we can access a single variable by just writing the name of the variable here in square brackets. So let's access the total chlorophyll A, which has this name. Just run that to make sure it's working. No typos. And what we're going to do now is we're going to remove this print statement. Now, xarray actually has some basic functionality from matplotlib actually built into it. So we can utilize that by doing .plot, and then underneath doing plot.show. And if I run this, we see a plot has appeared on our screen. Now this is really useful. We can see straight away on the x-axis that the long name variable attribute for that depth variable has been plotted as the x label. And the long name for our chlorophyll A total variable has been printed here. And we even have the units listed next to it. If I make this bigger, you should be able to see the units for the depth as well. Now, it doesn't look that nice. We can see we have this gap here. So let's have a look at what's happening here. Instead of plotting this, I just want to have a look at the values. So I'm going to write .values, and I want to print that. Let's comment that out as well. So this will print our values into the terminal, and we can see that we have not a number here. So for some reason, a value was not recorded at that point. So let's remove this, and what we're going to do now instead is we're going to drop those not a number values before we plot our data. So I'm going to keep this plot.show, but I'm going to remove this for now. And instead, we're going to do xr for xarray .plot.line, which is a type of plot we're going to make. And then we're going to call our variable xrds chlorophyll. Now, if we look at what this is doing now first, we're creating exactly the same plot. So we can expand this and just write .drop na and depth, which is the name of our coordinate variable. And if we run it again, we see our plot has been created, that empty space has been removed, and the line has been interpolated between the adjacent points. Now, it really makes more sense to have depth on the y-axis and also to have depth increasing as you go down. So let's adjust our code, and we can write y equals depth to specify that depth will be on the y-axis. By default, that means that chlorophyll A total will be on the x-axis. And we can say y increase equals false. So let's run this. And we have the same plot with a more sensible orientation. So it's not just line plots we can also make scatter plots, for example. I'm going to copy this variable name so I don't have to keep writing it out. And I'm going to delete this line. And I'm going to write XRDS, the name of our object, our variable name, chlorophyll A, dot plot dot scatter. And let's have a look at this. Again, maybe we want to put this so the depth is on the y-axis, so let's have a look at how to do that now. So we're going to write this a little bit differently. We're going to go xrds.plot.scatter, and we're going to say x equals our variable, y equals depth, and y increase equals false. Now if we look at that again, there we are. There's all different kinds of plots we can make as well. Some of these are not necessarily sensible for this type of data, but just to show you what we can do, we can also write XRDS and our variable .plot.hist to make a histogram of our points and how many values fall within certain bins. We can create step plots like this. And what's very useful is being able to plot different variables together. So let's go back and create another line plot. And we can copy some code that we had earlier. And we're going to assign a label this time so we can tell them apart. And we're going to plot the total chlorophyll A. Then we're going to copy and paste this. And we're also going to look at the chlorophyll A that has been filtered through a 10 micrometer filter. We then need to also include our legend, so plot.legend. And if we have a look at this, there we go. Now we can actually utilize a whole functionality of Matplotlib to make really nice publication quality plots. I'm going to copy and paste some code that I have from earlier, and I'm just going to talk you through what I'm doing here. So what we're doing here is creating two objects, one for the figure and one for the axes. And we're saying that we have a 2 by 1 grid, so there's going to be 2 columns in 1 row, so 2 plots next to each other. We're then plotting our line plots in the same way we did just previously. The only difference here is we have this additional argument here, ax, which relates to the axes that you want to plot your data on, or the subplot. This time we're calling axes, which is this object here, and we're plotting it on the first one. Remember, Python starts counting from 0. We plot the other line alongside it, and we're creating a title for our subplot. And then just to the plot alongside it on the second subplot, with axes 1, we are plotting our phaopigments values. And then we're just assigning a master or super title, as they call it in Matplotlib, and adjusting the layout so the plots don't fall on top of each other. So if we run this, and there we go, pretty nice. Let's load in some other data now and create a map of global surface temperature anomalies. This URL here is for the NOAA Global Surface Temperature dataset. Credit goes to these authors here. Make sure you cite them properly if you use these data. And if we go back to access, we can access the data via threads. Go here to the NetCDF file and open DAP. And if we take this data URL, this is what I've copied into here. So let's have a look at those data. Open this. We can see this time we have 4-dimensional data set with time, latitude, longitude, and Z, which is a vertical coordinate. But Z is 1, so we can essentially see this as a 3-dimensional data set. We have coordinate variables for each dimension, and so for time we can see that we have one time slice for each month. And then we have this anom variable, which is our global surface temperature anomalies. So let's have a closer look at this variable by doing anom and printing again. And we see here at the bottom all the variable attributes for this anom variable. That includes that these are physical measurements rather than, for example, model results. They're in degrees Celsius, and we have a valid min and valid max, minus 40 and 40. And we probably want to use these as our maximum and minimum values for our colour map. We have the long name attribute, which is, again, the free text description of what that variable is. And we have this standard name that we can go and look at this CF standard name table. So if I open up this page and I search for the surface temperature anomaly, we can read a description of what they are. So surface means the lower boundary of the atmosphere, anomaly means difference from the climatology, and surface temperature is the skin temperature at the surface, not the bulk temperature of the medium above or below. So now we understand what we want to plot. So how do we plot this? Well, firstly, we've got to select only one time slice from the data. So let's do this. We'll remove this print for now. And we can say desired date equals 2022 1201 for the 1st of December. Remember that month comes before date. And let's select the data for that date. So data for desired date equals xrds dot cell to select, and we want to select only the data where time equal to desired date. And let's print this so we can have a look at what we've just done. What we can see is that data for desired date is a new X-array object with only one time in it, so there is no longer a time dimension, but there is a coordinate variable for time with only a single value. So our anom variable now is essentially a two-dimensional array since Z has a length of 1. So let's remove this print again. So plotting these data is now quite easy. We can just do data for desired date, just our anom variable, dot plot, and then we can do plot.show. And there we go. It's automatically been assigned a blue, white, red colour map that's centred around 0 being white. So that looks quite nice, but it's quite difficult to interpret without the coastlines. To include the coastlines, we need to use a different library called cartopy. So go to the terminal and write pip install cartopy if you don't have it already. And then to import that, we can go import cartopy.crs as ccrs. And let's create some space here. We're first going to initialize our figure, plot.figure. We can give it a size, fig size equals some tuple, so 10 wide and 5 tall. Let's add an axis to that figure. Ax equals plot.axes. And we've got to give it a projection, which is the map projection we want to use. So we're going to say equals ccrs, this is where cartopy comes in, dot plate carry in this case. There are of course other projections that you can choose from. And adding the coastlines is very easy. We can just do ax.coastlines, and now we can try and run this. And our coastlines have been added. We have lost our X labels and our Y labels and the tick marks, so let's go ahead and add those. The tick marks first, ax.set x ticks. So what we want here is a list of points, but I'm going to specify this using the range function from -180 to 181 with an interval of 60, 181 being 1 degree further than the final mark. That doesn't mean that there's going to be a tick mark at 181. And then we need to specify the projection here again. CRS equals CCRS dot plate carry. I'm going to copy this and paste it below for our Y tick marks. Set Y ticks, and in this case let's do -90 to 90 with an interval of 30 degrees. Let's add an axis label as well. X.set X label longitude and X.set Y label latitude. And perhaps we want to add a nicer title as well, so we can go plot.title, as this is the title of a plot, not just the axes. We can write global surface temperature anomalies for, and what we're going to do is make this a function string, so we can input our desired date variable here. We can do that by using these curly brackets, writing desired date, and let's run this. That looks mostly good. The title hasn't been updated. I think this might have to come after we plot our data, as this is probably overriding the title. Remove some of this white space, and let's run this again. There we go. So you can now switch between months by altering this date, but if you do so, you probably want to have the same range for your colour map regardless of which month you're plotting. So we can do that. Let's extract that information up here. So let's say vmin for our minimum value we want to plot. And you might recall that our anom variable had a variable attribute that was called valid min. So we can take that, we can copy and paste this again and make some alterations. There's also a valid max, so vmin and vmax. Now I know, but you can go and check if you don't believe me, that vmin is equal to -40 and vmax is equal to 40. However, in some cases the amplitude of those values might be different. It might be -5 and 40, for example. But you want your colour map to be centered around 0. So you can take vmin abs equals abs vmin. So this will just take the absolute value of vmin. So in this case, -40 will be transformed into 40. And let's create another variable abs max and make that equal to the maximum of vmin abs and vmax. Then let's go and add that range to our plot. Vmin equals minus abs max, as that value needs to be negative, and vmax equals abs max. Let's run that. Okay, our range looks good, but now a different colour map has been used. Must have been overridden when we specified vmin and vmax ourselves. So let's close this. And we can manually specify the colour map by using cmap equals, and I'm going to choose seismic, and if we run that again, pretty nice. So if we compare that with, for example, the same month back in 1970, by changing this here, 1970, we can see that perhaps unsurprisingly there's a lot more blue on this map. So that's going to be the end of this one. This is a really cool data set, so go and explore. I hope you'll join me for the next video in the series, where I'll show you how you can get data out of a NetCDF file and export them into a CSV file or an XLSX file that you can open with Excel, for example. If you liked this video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.